Mr. Trilok Nath Pandey sir was a senior officer in the Intelligence Bureau of Government of India for more than 3 decades. As an astute spy master, he worked at several places and positions, besides undertaking teaching of senior intelligence officers at the National Intelligence Academy. He earned several laurels, notable among them being the Indian Police Medal in 2010 for meritorious service and President Police Medal in 2017 for distinguished service. He has also authored a very renowned novel, Chanakya Ki Jasoos, which has plenty of his experiences about spying. We welcome you, sir. Now I would request you to address the audience.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to address such youthful and intelligent people on a very shrewd subject, the craft of intelligence in ancient, the craft of spying in ancient India. Yeah. Sure. I will deliver my talk in a loose manner. I have not framed my talk in a very tight way because I have already written a very lengthy article on this topic, which is going to be published, which is going to appear in my upcoming book, which is going to be published shortly, Khufya Giri. So my talk will be in a very casual manner. At the same time, if you feel at any time any clarification, any curiosity to be addressed, you may please raise. Friends, spying is quite natural to human being. And in the days when human being lived in the lap of nature and worshipped gods of nature for his well-being and safety, he also looked for the spies of gods. Our great saints, sages, and Vedic poets visualized, perceived, I better to say, perceived the gods, and at the same time also perceived their spies also. Another thing, a social aspect. Just a second. It is believed that spying is the second oldest profession in human history. First being the prostitution. With the passage of time, when rivalry for sexual favors increased with the complications developing in the society and lust growing up, the need for spies arose to keep tab on the rivals. And thus, the institution of spying as a profession started. And it started in the very dawn of the history, in the very beginning, when a human being started arranging things. That's why in the very old, oldest book, Rig Veda, spying has frequently mentioned. It is mentioned there. that Varuna, the chief intelligence officer, the chief of his spies, who remain surrounded by his glistening, his bright spies. Any question? Any? Acha, okay. Bright spies from the heaven. He was having an eye on the creatures of the earth. And the creatures of the earth used to make appeals and calls to him to make him his spies active so that law and order, which was called Rit in classical Vedic jargon, could be maintained. Some other gods were also having spies like Mitra, Indra, Surya, and it is said that through his spies, Indra demolishes Dasyus and Dasas, who were widely believed the non-Aryan people. Some people believed that they were the original people of this land. It's a controversial issue. I am not going into that. But they were inimical to Aryas. There were constant fights and conflicts between Aryas and Anaryas, Aryas and Dasas and Dasyus, and on the part of Aryas, spies from gods used to work against Dasas and Dasyus. In the Rigved itself, Agni is mentioned as Duta, messenger. Basically, Agni was perceived as a messenger from human being to gods, who carries prayers and consignments of offerings to gods. In those prayers, mention of spies frequently occur. Friends, literature is the mirror of society. Society from time to time found its mention in the literature of that time, and with the same tempo, the mention of spies have also been made there. With the passage of time, when the period of Atharvaved came, Atharvaved was the last Vedic scripture, and by that time society became very complicated, where deceit, evils, and so many negative things. So many negative things started getting prominence in the society, and the simplicity of the society was waning slowly and slowly, gradually. When the society became complicated, and black magic and witch hunt and so many negative things were prominent, the need for spies arose hugely. And there are many verses found in Atharvaved which eulogize the dignity and high quality of spies. Then came the in the Indian history. Then came the period of Mahakavyas. great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. During the time of Ramayana, society was not that much complicated. Still, it was still the course of ideals were uh, followed in the society. In the Ramayana, which is authored by Valmiki, the great sage, spying is mentioned at so many places. Uh, I will mention a very few instances only, and I will resist from reading from the originals, because that will be the wastage of time to read from the lengthy passages from the original scriptures. I will just mention their references. And if you are interested to go through the scriptural references originally, you may refer to my article, um, um, History of Indian Spying System. That is available. If you would like, I will make that available on my social media platform if you want that. So, in Ramayana, there are many references. One very prominent reference I will make here. Ram goes to near the Kiskindha mountain in search of his wife Sita. Sugriv suspects that some foreign persons are coming here and sends Hanuman to inquire. Hanuman goes to Ram in the guise of a Brahmin. That is the very apt example of a good cover. He assumes the cover of a Brahmin, a simple person, and goes to Ram. Later, when he reveals his identity, Ram realizes that he is the person with great talent, and Ram makes him his chief intelligence officer. So Hanuman was the chief intelligence officer of Ram. And as his chief of the intelligence unit and his special envoy, special messenger, he sends him to Lanka to inquire about whereabout of Sita. And it was a great intelligence operation launched by Hanuman, and he successfully gets entry into the well-protected city of Lanka. And an intelligence officer, he made a very quick survey of the city. He did a great surveillance very hastily, and found that there was a person who can be made an agent, a local agent who could work who could supply information to Ram's side. And very correctly, he approached him. He was Vibhishan. He raised him, cultivated him, and convinced him to work for Ram. And the clinching of Vibhishan as an agent did a lot of beneficial things for Ram's army. It was Vibhishan's information that that gave the address of Shushen when Lakshman was seriously hurt, and the address was of Shushan was given by Vibhishan. It was Vibhishan only who said that this injury can be cured only by Shushan, and Shushan's address is this. And the battle between Ram and Ravana was turned only at the strength of information, secret information provided by Vibhishan, that nectar lies at the navel of Ravana. Because Ram kept on killing Ravan, and he again became alive. But he was finally killed when this important information was utilized. Now come to the side of Ravana. Ravana's side was very ill-equipped with his spying system. It is said that Ravan was so complacent and so haughty, so rude to his spies, that he believed that I am mighty enough to crush any enemy, and I hardly need a spy. So his sister Shurpanakha shouted at him that you are sitting here at Lanka surrounded by sycophants, so complacently living in your golden palace, and you have no information that your sister is injured and disgraced, and you will perish soon, and any king will perish soon who does not have a good spying system, who does not heed to the information brought by his spies. And Ravana was very much alerted. But the institution of spying requires a very patient and long years of grooming. It is not done in a very sudden moment. So when the battle started, and the Ram's army was stationed at the outskirts of Lanka, Ravana sent his spies to spy on the army of Rama. But Ravana's spies were mostly caught. Mainly because they were ill-trained, ill-briefed, and also that one of their insider, Vibhishan, was in the opposite party. So there comes a reference that Sur and Sak, they were two spies from Ravana, they were caught at the instance of Vibhishan. They were brought to Rama, and it was made an appeal to the Sri Ram, that these two spies should be punished, so that a good signal should go to Ravana that his spying system will not work. But Ram refuted. Ram rejected this appeal and said that no disrespect should be shown to the spies. They should be well treated. They should be provided with the required information, so that they should go back to Ravan, tell him our strength, and tell our greatness of conduct. Living here, two more example instance. One very prominent agent in the Ram's kingdom was Bhadra Mukhe. When Ram came back to Ayodhya with Sita after killing Ravan, Bhadra Mukhe was the resident intelligence officer at Ayodhya. There comes a very interesting dialogue between Bhadra Mukhe and Ram in Valmiki Ramayana. There is a talk between the king and his chief spy. He reports many things, but Ram feels that Bhadra Mukhe is hiding something, and he invokes him. Is there anything special you want to say? Is there something? But Bhadra Mukhe was pushing back. No, it's all right. It's all right. But Ram's insistence made him to speak that people are talking like this. So the result was exile of Sita, the great pregnant lady, Mother Sita, was exiled. It was a bane of spying system. Spies bring several information. Some are very dear to your ears, some are not. But as a very good administrator and good king, the chief has to listen to his spies. Then friends comes to the period of Mahabharata, when bloodshed and deceit were very prominent and spies were in great demand. There were several instances in Mahabharata when spies were widely used. One instance I may quote, that on the exhortation from Duryodhana, Bhisma was made to make a promise, take an oath that the next day he will kill all the. Actually, there was an accusation against Bhishma by Duryodhan that in the battle of Mahabharata, he is favoring Pandavas at Kurukshetra. Physically, he is with Kauravas, but mentally, he is still with Pandavas. And Duryodhan exhorted that you are not doing justice to your side. Bhishma was compelled to make an oath that the next day I will finish 5 Pandavas with only 5 arrows. So this development was secretly overheard, was secretly known by Krishna's spies, and this information was passed on to Pandava's side. And there was a great formation of army of Pandavas, Vyuhan, that is called formation in English. And this information saved the lives of Pandavas. So after Mahakavya period, came later on periods. In the same time, simultaneously in the south, there was a great saint and poet, Thiruvallur. He had he has composed Tiru. He had composed what? Tirukural, consisting of kurals. Kurals means couplets, verses. And it is said that in that time he composed some kurals which were which enshrined the great ideals of spying, and it was very useful in those times in the south. And one thing more, the system, the principles, the institution which was perceived in those far days, in the distant history, those very principles are applicable today itself. Even nowadays, those principles are applicable and are being applied. We are working on that only, on those principles only. Only technical developments have made advancement in the field of spying. Otherwise, the principles are the same. Further, the historical indications, these are the mythological indications. The first historical indications are available during the Maurya period with the functioning of Chanakya. Chanakya, who is also called Kautilya. Kautilya means the crooked one. He developed the institution of spying. He very successfully utilized the institution of spying to demolish the mighty empire of Magad. My novel Chanakya Ke Jasoos is based on this theme and contains very many ideals and principles of intelligence system. Utilized in those days, derived from Chanakya's masterpiece, Arthashastra. You must have heard about Arthashastra. Arthashastra, the book of statecraft, the book of statesmanship, has got two chapters, 10th and 11th, on spying. One is called 10th chapter, I think, is called Good Purush, and another chapter is called anyway, there are two chapters, Good Purush and Gudha Praniti. There are two chapters. Then came the classical period of Sanskrit literature, which very widely mention the prevalent use of spies. After 800 years, from the period of Arthashastra, a very great dramatist named Vishak Dutt was there, and he authored a drama, Sanskrit drama, Mudra Rakshas, a very great drama based on intelligence utility, based on the activities of spies of Chanakya. Vishakdatta is believed to be a person from the royal family, and it is also believed that he must have been a person closely associated with intelligence working. Otherwise, a common person, an ordinary person, could not have got so much knowledge in depth about spies. When you read Earth Shastra, there are two types of spies mentioned in that book, Sanstha and Sanchari. Sanstha are formal spies. They are intelligence officers in government service. Sanchari are the spies who kept on moving from one place to another place in the guise of different persons. Persons like students, persons like beggars, persons like merchants, dancers, chemists, ascetics, and so many forms. Kautilya gives several names, many names. The spies used to assume the form of those persons to have a good access to the desired information. Then there are many other works of Sanskrit literature which mention about spies. They are the works of Bhash, the poet, Kalidas, the poet, Magh, and Bang. Manusmriti also mentions very widely about spies. And the great Sanskrit dictionary, Amarkos, gives several names of spies, like Ispash, Char, Pranidhi, Yatharvan, Good Purus, and so many other names. In the subsequent period, Bharavi, the great literature, who had authored Kiratarjuniyam, gives a very clear description about spies. Though there were many mentions about the king as the person who sees through the eyes of spies. But I have come across a very distinct shloka where Bharavi mentions spies as the eyes of the king. So friends, these are the references from ancient Sanskrit literature. One Raj Tarangini by Kalhan also mentions about spies. And spies being very secret workers, they were not dealt very exhaustively by any literature except Kautilya. Kautilya have written very vastly, very widely about spies. So here I take leave of, take permission of you all to close my talk. If any point of curiosity, any question you feel, you may kindly come up. Please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful speech. Now let's have a Q&A session where you would answer the questions raised by some of the people in the audience. and I, Rayanimad, will be asking the questions on their behalf. So the first question goes something like this. Is the spy system mentioned by Acharya Chanak still relevant?
Yes, still still relevant and very much relevant.
Okay.
Only the technological development has enhanced the step of spying. Otherwise, all those systems, all those principles enshrined, started by Kautilya, are still applicable and are being utilized.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. And the second question goes something like this. The spying system was at risk of getting rogue and harm the state itself. So how was it controlled and kept in check?
Spying works in an ambience of confidence and faith. If you have faith on your spy, he will be beneficial for you. If you he will not bother to work with much enthusiasm. Am I clear? This was the question, I hope.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now another question is, प्राचीन भारत के जासूसी तंत्र की तकनीकों से सीखकर हम आज के बदलते वैश्विक समीकरणों में भारत का प्रभुत्व कैसे स्थापित कर सकते हैं?
Oh, my dear friend, I will reply in a very brief way, but I will request you to go through my novel Chanakya Ke Jasoos. That novel gives the answer very aptly. That novel extols the ideal that instead of jumping into direct confrontation with your enemy, you should go through secret and diplomatic channel to solve the conflicts, the point of dissensions, and emerge as a very upper hand in your diplomatic manner. Nowadays, in India, you must be seeing this principle working. And in the whole of the world, direct confrontation is not advisable anywhere. And it is not possible also because the whole world is equipped with so many deadly weapons that if any flash of confrontation, physical confrontation starts, that will demolish very vastly, that will spoil the civilization. So, like wise persons, we need to evolve working on secret channels and diplomatic means. And with this ideal in mind, I have authored that novel. Yes, friend.
Okay, so this is the last question. From where have we taken this idea that Chanakya demolished the Nand Empire? Vishak Dutt was in the Gupta period. Arthashastra is not mentioning Nand or Chandragupta anywhere, and not even not even Indika is saying anything about Chanakya.
Good question. Good question. My dear friend, Mudra Rakshas is a creation of imagination, fiction.
Yeah.
My novel is also is a fiction and imagination, product of imagination. History fails at some times. There are several things which have not got mentioned in the history. There are many gaps The gaps are realized by some sensitive persons who maybe said the literatures, and with their bit of imagination, they recreate the scene and weaves a story to fill in the gaps of the history. There is no mention about demolishing of Dhananand by Chanakya and his plays and so many things. But the customary sayings, the beliefs and the folklores are also should also be treated as a valid source of history, because it is that period where none of us have seen anything, and even the historians back to 300 years, nobody is aware. So there are many things which come through the tongue. हमारे मुख कथन से वो आया है, हम अपने दादा परदादा से सुनते आए हैं. तो भले माने that may not get a space in the dry history, but it comes to our beliefs, our faith, and people say that Ram is not a historical person, but he lives in our faith. Our faith is much more than history. History has very limited scope. Our faith is unlimited.
Right.
Yes, my friend. Anything?
Yes, sir. So one more, just the last question. I missed this question somehow. Sir, as you worked in the IB, could you please tell us something with regard to the current spying system?
My dear friend, we have got a very one of most efficient intelligence system in the world, and the evidence is that India, with all its differences, with all its what you say, different types of people, diversities you say, despite its diversities, is still growing very strong. This is evident. This tells the story of the strength of our spying and security system. And one thing more, in recent years, we are very successful in containing terrorist activities, and in the whole world, anybody working, trying to work against the interests of India fears that the intelligence system, the head of the nation, the people of India are no longer weak. I hope I have answered well.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions. Thank you, sir. And now I would like to call upon our mentor, Dr. Pankaj Kumar Mishra, sir, an associate professor of Sanskrit in St. Stephen's College, to address all of us. Sir.
Sir, actually, you are muted, sir. Please unmute yourself.
Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ryan. And on behalf of Vivekananda Study Circle, so I think it is our fourth lecture series. Sir, I'm very pleased after listening your, the thought and the history given by you from since Vedas till, Rajtarangini and all. And in fact, Mudra Rakshasam is in my heart and brain also. For approximately 29 years, I'm teaching Mudra Rakshasam to our students. Especially in third act, in fact, you probably know it, in third act, we have full, the length lecture of Chanakya, especially on, the system, the public system, and especially about the intelligence and all those things. So you have given, a long chain of this spying system. And in fact, that question about Chanakya and this Vishak that was, put by me only. I know the things, but just for the students only, I put that question to you. So for that, I'm feeling sorry. In fact, Mrs. Sharmistha, please don't take it on your brain or heart, just for the students only. Because sometimes these questions, come before me also. Because in Indica there isn't any mention of this Chanakya. Even yes, I think I have Matsya Puran where it is mentioned about the whole Maurya dynasty and all those things. So I think it's a very nice lecture, and on behalf of Vivekananda Study Circle.
Excuse me, sir. One thing I want to add.
Please.
I am not versed in Sanskrit, and I have not read much about Sanskrit.
No problem for that, sir. Because
there was a time when I was posted in Srinagar. At that time, militancy was at the climax, and we were almost free for doing nothing because we were held in indoors. So I started. I thought, what should I do? What new things I should learn? So I thought I should learn Sanskrit. And on my own, I learned Sanskrit. And read many books, scriptures of Sanskrit. Later on, when I have been to the National Intelligence Academy, I was required to deliver lectures to senior officers. And at in those days, I was required to prepare a case study. So a case study of intelligence working. So I thought I should develop a case study from ancient India. It was very challenging job. And I happened to come across Mudra Rakshas. I studied it. I worked on its intelligence value. I prepared a case study. I kept it teaching. And finally, I was able to write a novel on this theme. Initially, I wrote in English. It was given a publisher. Before it could come in English, some other publisher approached me and requested that it should first come in Hindi. So in Hindi, it has already here. So thank you very much. It's so nice of you all people that a person, a humble and ordinary person like me has got an audience with so great people. So you all are very learned people. I am not that.
So our students are very disciplined, sir, and of course, they are learning from, the people like you, the learned like you. And yes, on behalf of you, I'm going to assure my student also, speaker like you always, would be invited here, on this platform. So once again, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. So nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you. And now let's move on to the vote of thanks by Ayan.
On behalf of Vivekananda Study Circle. Okay, so on behalf of Vivekananda Study Circle, I, Ayan, take this opportunity to thank Mr. Trilok Nath Pandey ji for taking out his prestigious time to grace this event. I'm sure that this event has enlarged our knowledge and perspective on this historically important issue. We hope to host you again in times to come. A special thanks to Dr. Pankaj Kumar Mishra for his guidance and the organizing committee for their unflinching support and coordination. A heartfelt thanks to the audience and participants for such zealous and exemplary participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much,
all
sir.
for making this event successful. I would request the members of the organizing committee to stay behind. and rest all you may leave. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to